Selamat pagi. Hari ini kami akan menyelenggarakan satu seminar bertema Fly Together for Another 50 Years. Seminar ini diselenggarakan dalam rangka memperingati 50 tahun hubungan Republik Korea atau Korea Selatan dengan Republik Indonesia. Kami berharap dalam seminar nanti ada banyak inspirasi yang bisa kita ambil dan kita jadikan bahan pelajaran bersama untuk pertama tentu saja memperkuat hubungan kita dengan Korea, dan yang kedua untuk kepentingan kita sendiri dalam rangka membangun kapasitas kita. Selain seminar nanti mengenai ekonomi dan mengenai defense dan pertahanan, akan ada juga eksibisi taekwondo oleh taekwondo cilik yang kita punya, dan kemudian fashion show bertema Indonesia and Korea in One Soul yang berusaha untuk memadukan ragam busana Indonesia dan ragam busana Korea. Oke, kita saksikan. Terima kasih.
Annyeonghaseyo. Good morning, Excellencies, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Rumah Jan. My name is Hanifah Tunisa. It is a great and precious opportunity for me to be your Master of Ceremonies on Tuesday, 5th December 2023 in our agenda, International Seminar, Fly Together for Another 50 Years, Upgrading Indonesia-Korea Relation in Economy, Politics, Culture, and Defense. This seminar is organized by Koreakini, one of the online media in Jakarta, with focus on Indonesia-Korea relation. Supported by the Embassy of the Republic of Korea in Indonesia, KAF, Nina Nugroho, Maryland, Indonesia, Kantor Berita Politik RMOL ID, Farah ID, Permodalan Nasional Madani, RMOL Aceh, Universitas Negeri Jakarta, Nibras House, Seharum Kue, Dapur Cowet, Giyanti, Malik Mustaram, and Bank Syariah Indonesia. On behalf of the organizing committee, we are very delighted to have you all here today. We would like to welcome Chairman of MPR RI Bambang Susetio, Member of Presidential Advisory Council Mr. Jan Faris, Ambassador of Republic of Korea to Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Lee Sang-dok, and Head of Jaringan Media Siber Indonesia, Mr. Teguh Santosa. We also welcome all the speakers and moderators, CEO of Korean Bank Bukopin, Mr. Lee Woo-yeol, Women and Family Empowering Committee Syariah Economic Society, Ms. Ami Atmanto, CEO of BUMN Track, Mr. Ahmad Kurnia, Expert in Offset and Defense Matters, Bina Nusantara University, Ms. Kuri Maharani Safitri, Chief in Editor of Jakarta Post, Mr. Taufik Rahman, and Editor of RMOL ID, Ms. Sarah Meliana Gunawan. Thank you for joining us today. And of course, thank you to all participants for attending this international seminar. We will invite to the podium Head of JMSI, Mr. Teguh Santosa, to give the remark. Mr. Teguh Santosa, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, Annyeonghaseyo. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished member of Presidential Advisors Council or One Team Press, Bapak Jan Farid, welcome Pak to your own place. And then Ambassador of Republic of Korea to Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Lee Sang-dok, and CEO of BK Bukopin, Mr. Lee Woo-yeol, and Chairman of BUMN Track, Mr. Ahmad Kurnia, Chief Editor for Remol, Widian, and my colleague, uh, Chief Editor for Farah ID and Koreakini, Mrs. Junilawati. And also, of course, everyone who attended this seminar. Actually, this is the fourth seminar organized by us to show our concern to the relationship between the two countries, Indonesia and Korea. I appreciate Farah Media Utama's initiative to hold this seminar. We have seen that for more than a decade, the Korean wave or Hallyu has amazed the world, including Indonesia, loved by the younger generation of Indonesia, also liked by their fathers and mothers, including me. But of course, South Korea is not only about K-pop, K-drama, or the Parasite movie that won Oscars and several other film festivals in the world, or Squid Games, which is tense and beyond imagination. South Korea is not only about kimchi and bibimbap and various others K-food and K-culinary. We must underline that South Korea is also about technological development in all fields, which create a strong foundation for sustainable economic development in Korea. In the end, if we look back at historical records, it is not an exaggerated, it is not an exaggeration to say that South Korea, like Indonesia, is a nation of warriors who had the iron determination to rise up and become winners. Because of that, I think the theme of this seminar, Fly Together for Another 50 Years, is a brilliant one. These two great nations need and must continue to collaborate, combining all existing potentials, green economy, blue economy, and other alternative economy, including Sharia economy, and also actively participate in maintaining world orders and peace. So that's all my welcome speech for all of you. Kamsahamnida, and thank you. And before I leave the stage, I would like to invite all of you to see the welcoming remarks of Head of MPR RI, Mr. Bambang Susatyo. Actually, he's supposed to be here this morning, but just last night he sent me a message because of one of the state function, he cannot come to this place along with us. So please screen the speech, the remarks of Mr. Bambang Susatyo. And then I leave the stage. Thank you very much, Kamsahamnida.
Selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Annyeonghaseyo. Yang mulia Duta Besar Korea Selatan untuk Indonesia, Excellency Mr. Lee Sang-dok, anggota Dewan Pertimbangan Presiden, Bapak Ian Farid, para narasumber, moderator, dan seluruh peserta seminar, Bapak Ibu hadirin yang berbahagia. Suatu kehormatan dan kebanggaan tersendiri bagi saya mendapatkan kembali kesempatan untuk menyampaikan sambutan singkat pada forum seminar internasional yang diselenggarakan dalam rangka memperingati 50 tahun hubungan Republik Indonesia dan Republik Korea dengan mengusung tema Fly Together for Another 50 Years Upgrading Indonesia-Korea Relation in Economy, Politics, Culture, and Defense. Izinkan saya menyampaikan permohonan maaf yang sebesar-besarnya kepada seluruh hadirin sekalian bahwa saya hadir secara virtual melalui tayangan video ini. Dikarenakan ada agenda kenegaraan yang tidak dapat saya tinggalkan. Semoga kehadiran saya melalui tayangan video ini tidak mengurangi makna kebersamaan kita. Hadirin yang berbahagia, saya sudah beberapa kali melakukan kunjungan ke Korea Selatan. Baik untuk tujuan bisnis, kunjungan kedinasan, ataupun sekedar berpariwisata. Dan pada setiap kunjungan tersebut selalu meninggalkan kesan yang menyenangkan bagi saya. Saya rasa orang-orang Korea memiliki kesamaan karakter dengan orang Indonesia, yaitu ramah dan menghormati persahabatan. Oleh karena itu, saya tidak heran bahwa hubungan baik antara negara Korea Selatan dan Indonesia dapat bertahan hingga saat ini, yang terjalin selama setengah abad dan terus menunjukkan peningkatan persahabatan kedua negara. Dalam kurun waktu 5 dekade ini, hubungan persahabatan dan kerjasama bilateral yang terjalin sedemikian erat antara kedua negara mengingatkan saya pada sebuah ungkapan dalam bahasa Korea. Inseong ui gojengkyun samariun ojeng igo. Bahwa anugerah terbesar dalam kehidupan adalah persahabatan. Kedekatan hubungan antara Korea Selatan dan Indonesia juga telah menjadi komitmen dari kedua pemimpin negara yang ditegaskan pada berbagai forum internasional dan pertemuan bilateral. Tingginya intensitas pertemuan bilateral antara kedua negara, baik pada tingkat kepala negara, kepala pemerintahan, tingkat menteri dan hubungan antar parlemen, dimaksudkan untuk meningkatkan kerjasama dalam segala bidang, baik ekonomi, politik, kebudayaan, maupun kerjasama di bidang pertahanan. Di samping itu saja hubungan people to people atau antar masyarakat kedua negara. Banyak pelajaran yang dapat kami petik dari hubungan baik yang telah terjalin dengan Korea Selatan, dan saya meyakini Korea Selatan adalah mitra strategis yang sangat penting bagi Indonesia. Saya mengapresiasi progres kerjasama antara kedua negara, khususnya pada peningkatan nilai investasi Korea Selatan di Indonesia yang terus menunjukkan tren peningkatan. Dan pada kesempatan yang baik ini saya ingin meyakinkan kepada Korea Selatan bahwa masih banyak potensi kerjasama yang dapat dikembangkan di Indonesia. Meskipun banyak pencapaian yang telah diraih dan banyak hal telah diupayakan dalam rangka penguatan kerjasama bilateral kedua negara, tentunya masih ada beberapa aspek yang memerlukan tindak lanjut, misalnya investasi di bidang industri baja, petrokimia, baterai kendaraan listrik, dan kabel listrik, telekomunikasi, serta energi terbarukan. Dalam konteks transformasi ekonomi, Indonesia menyambut baik peran dan kontribusi Korea Selatan dalam penguatan sektor kesehatan, pembangunan berkelanjutan, ekonomi digital, dan administrasi publik. Diberlakukannya perjanjian kemitraan ekonomi Konfensif Indonesia-Korea atau Indonesia-Korea Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement telah memberikan dasar pijakan yang kuat bagi peningkatan hubungan kerjasama kedua negara. Dan sesuai dengan tema seminar, Korea Selatan dan Indonesia akan memanfaatkan momentum ini untuk terbang bersama, menyongsong tahun kemasan kerjasama bilateral yang saling menguntungkan. Saudara-saudara yang saya hormati, demikianlah beberapa hal yang dapat saya sampaikan. Semoga forum ini menghasilkan suatu ide, gagasan, dan rumusan rekomendasi yang konstruktif bagi penguatan kerjasama Indonesia-Korea Selatan ke depan. Sekali lagi, terima kasih, salam kompak, dan salam kemajuan bersama untuk masa depan Korea Selatan Indonesia. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you very much, Chairman of MPR RI Bambang Susatyo, for his insightful remarks. And excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the next speech, we will see the performance of our talented children. Please welcome Revolution Taekwondo Club. Okay, give applause to Revolution Taekwondo Club. Wow, that's amazing performance from Revolution Taekwondo Club. And this extraordinary performance was the result of disciplined trainers by our coach, Hardi Firman. Please applause to Mr. Hardi Firman and our children. Thank you. Okay, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue our agenda. Now we have a keynote speech from a member of the Presidential Advisory Council, Mr. Jan Faris. Please come to the stage, Mr. Jan Faris. The place is yours.
Pak Teguh, apa kabar? Sahabat-sahabat saya yang tidak bisa saya sebutkan namanya satu persatu. Selamat datang di acara ini. Satu kebahagiaan untuk saya yang kita bisa merayakan bersama hari ulang tahun Korea Selatan yang ke-50 tahun bersama-sama. Ke-50 tahun ya? Iya, hubungan Indonesia-Korea 50 tahun. Ini luar biasa. Dan sejarah saya banyak sekali berkunjung ke Korea untuk main bola. Golfnya tempatnya bagus sekali dan sangat tinggi. Jadi terima kasih banyak, Your Excellency, you give me a chance to go to your country to watching your golf facility. And when I come to your country, normally I'm joined together with Pak Pinanjan, Dr. Sasmita. We create business together with Korea. We care a lot, especially for the oil and gas and power plant. Because during that time we built a lot of power plant, we need also help from the Korean. And I visited Korea many times, but we don't have any joint venture together with Korea to build the power plant here. But the technology in Korea for the power plant is very good actually. Jadi ini satu kebanggaan kita bisa merayakan 50 tahun hubungan kita dengan Korea. Pak Teguh, mudah-mudahan ini bisa berlangsung lebih lama dan berlangsung terus hubungan baik ini sehingga hubungan ini bisa menjadi hubungan yang betul-betul berdasarkan persaudaraan. Jadi saya ucapkan terima kasih banyak atas kesempatan saya diberikan kesempatan berbicara. Karena biasanya uang impres jarang ngomong. Biasanya nggak boleh ngomong dan rahasia kalau ngomong. Karena itu nasihatnya ke presiden nggak boleh yang tahu. Nah, tapi kali ini kalau disuruh ngomong ya biasanya ngomong apa-apa. Jadi terima kasih banyak sekali lagi. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jan Faris, for a wonderful speech. Please applause to Mr. Jan Faris. Okay. And the next keynote speech will be delivered by Ambassador of Republic of Korea to Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Lee Sang-do.
Selamat pagi semuanya, 안녕하세요. 한국 인도네시아 수교 50주년이라는 뜻깊은 은혜를 마무리하면서 양국이 앞으로의 50년을 더 행복 방향을 논의하는 자리에 서게 되면 기쁘게 생각합니다. 이 자리에 함께 해주신 장 파리스 대통령 장의원님, 반방 수사트리오 핑퐁의 부장님 그리고 이우열 KB 국빈 대표님 패널로 참석해 주신 여러분들께 감사드립니다. 또한 뜻깊은 행사를 준비해 주신 위대한 패브리 이안토 엘본 편집장님, 유릴 나와티 파라닷 아이디 편집장님 및 관계자분들께도 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 한국과 인도네시아는 지난 50년간 적지 경제 사회 문화는 폭넓은 분야에서 착실히 협력 관계를 발전시켜왔습니다. 그 결과 2017년 인도네시아 아시아국가들 중에서는 아세안 국가들 중에서는 유일하게 대한민국과 특별 전략적 동반자 관계를 맺었습니다. 이어 지난 2022년 추구만 윤석열 정부가 천명을 한 인도 특별약 전략 그리고 한아세안 연대 구상을 이행함에 있어서 인도네시아는 대한민국의 핵심적인 협력 파트너가 되고 있습니다. 경제 분야에서도 올해 한인이 세파가 발효되어서 보다 한참 높은 경제협력의 기틀을 마련했고요. 지난 9월 한인이 정상회담 개최 계기에는 농협기계와 이모빌리티, 한일협력의 무효 등 체계를 하는 등 미래를 내다보고 다양한 분야로 약간 협력을 확대해 나가고 있습니다. 이러한 협력 관계가 제대로 발전되어 나가면 우리 양국 앞으로 50년 이내 세계 그 어느 나라도 부러워할 정도의 그 명실상부한 동반자로 거듭나게 될 것이라고 확신합니다. 네, 기빈 여러분, 한국은 인도네시아의 OECD 가입과 2045년 세계 5대 경제대국 달성이라는 국가적 목표를 추진하는 데 있어서 인도네시아 항상 함께 할 것입니다. 이런 것에서 저는 우선 양국이 전기차, 배터리, 스마트시티, 신재생에너지, 핀테크 등 첨단 미래 산업 분야에서 보다 구체적이고 실질적인 협력 방안을 함께 모색해야 한다고 생각합니다. 또 양국과 경제 협력의 범위를 확대하고 깊이를 더해가도록 하기 위해서 그러한 협력의 주체가 될 기업들이 보다 원활히 활동할 수 있는 기업 진화적 환경이 조성될 필요가 있다고 봅니다. 우리 한국 기업 입장에서 보면 투자 초기의 약속들이 제대로 지켜지고 예측 가능한 가운데 한심하고 투자를 이어갈 수 있는 여건이 조성한 시일에 조성되기를 기대합니다. 여러분, 지금 우리는 미중 갈등과 글로벌 공동만 대표한 러시아 우크라이나 전쟁, 이스라엘 팔레스타인 사태 등 지정학적 불안정성이 계속되는 시대에 살고 있습니다. 그러한 만큼 우리 양국은 경제 안보 측면에서 협력은 물론이고 연내 안정과 평화를 위해서도 힘을 모아야 할 것입니다. 특히 한국과 인도네시아 안보 협력의 상징 KF21 IFX 전투기 공동개발 사업을 잘 마무리해서 인도네시아의 자주국방 태세 강화에도 기여하고 또 연내 안보를 위한 전략적 협력도 강화되어 나가기를 기대하는 어떤 한국으로서도 글로벌 중추국가, 글로벌 피votal 스테이트를 지향하면서 한반도와 동아시아, 인도 태평양 지역 평화 안정을 위해서 인도네시아와의 독반자적 협력 관계를 강화해 나가고자 합니다. 지난주 목요일 우리 한국대사관 주최로 개최된 한인미 수도 50주년 협력 포럼 세미나에서도 양국 협력의 앞으로의 협력 확대 분야로서 그린 에너지, 신재생 에너지 등 경제 분야와 함께 지역 안보 협력의 필요성이 특별히 강조되었습니다. 오늘 세미나에서도 양국이 향후 10년간 명실 당부한 특별 전략적 동반자 관계로서 플라이 투게더 할 수 있는 건설적 창의적 지원들이 제시되기를 기대합니다. 감사합니다.
To present the certificate of appreciation to Ambassador of Republic Korea to Indonesia, His Excellency Lee Sang-deok and Mr. Jan Farid. And the hampers come from Dapur Coek and Sarang Kue.
Selamat siang semua. Seru banget ya tadi ya. Tadi udah ada penampilan karate.
Iya. Seru banget ya tadi ya.
Tendang-tendangan.
Sampai kelempar ke sana.
Benar. Tapi kita bakal ada acara seru lain ya pastinya. Sebelum kenalin dulu kali ya.
Tuh, tak kenal maka sayang ya.
Nama saya Mai.
Dan saya Olivia.
Kita akan memandu acara ke depannya. Kita bakal ada seru-seruan lainnya nih pastinya nih.
Betul banget.
Kita bakal ada apa nih, Vi?
Kita bakal ada acara fashion show nih buat memanjakan mata-mata para hadirin yang hadir di sini.
Ya betul banget. Tapi Vi kok kali ini kayaknya cakep banget nih.
Wah, makasih loh Mike. Mike juga hari ini ganteng banget.
Wah, karena saat ini aku lagi pakai baju dari Nibras House.
Oh.
Kalau ini dari mana nih?
Sama, dari Nibras House juga nih sponsor kita. Boleh tepuk tangannya semua buat Nibras House Indonesia.
Makanya kelihatan cakep banget, kelihatan manis dari Nibras House ya. Tapi aku jujur aja, aku pakai Nibras House tuh udah dari tahun-tahun sebelumnya.
Emang sebelumnya udah tahu Nibras House?
Setelah dari zaman kuliah pakai Nibras House. Sekarang ini kayak Pak Haji banget ya, mohon maaf ya kan. Karena kan
udah UIN banget sih. Ada anak UIN nggak di sini?
ada anak UIN ya di sini ya. Itu. Tepuk tangan dulu anak UIN. Katanya juga ada anak Universitas Negeri Jakarta.
Iya, ada. Mana cek suaranya? Universitas Negeri Jakarta mana?
Itu sebelah sana.
Ada dari mana lagi
Iya,
sih?
betul banget. Dari mana lagi nih kira-kira? Ada juga dari, ya pastinya ada dari Farah juga, ada Ermol juga. Yep. Pi, kita bakal ngapain sih?
Kita bakal nampilin acara fashion show untuk nampilin koleksi dari 4 desainer ternama Indonesia. Ada Lala Gozali,
Ada Maryland Indonesia,
ada Nina Nugroho,
dan juga ada Malik Mustara. Dan kita akan penampilan dari desain-desain ini akan disuguhkan dengan model dari Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Pasti pada penasaran banget kan?
Iya.
Modelnya pasti nggak kalah cakep loh dari kamu lah.
Pastinya dong. Ya,
Daripada berlama-lama lagi, langsung aja. Ini dia Fashion Show Indonesia
and Korea it's
Go! Dari Yanti Bella Joseph.
style yang premium dan cantik yang sangat cocok digunakan untuk wanita urban. Blazer yang lebih panjang menjadi fashion item yang cocok dipadupadankan dengan rok tubuh, rok pleated, ataupun flare. Desain seperti ini bisa juga menjadi pijama dan digunakan oleh calon papan atas Korea Selatan. Ini dia mainline Indonesia. Kami silakan berselanjutnya ya.
Koleksi selanjutnya datang dari Yanti Bella Lozari. Kalian Lala Lozari menampilkan tema Black or White. Koleksi desain memadukan kain tradisional warna, tulis warna telur dan warna batik yang dipadupadankan dengan warna hitam dan putih. Busana yang jelas dan visual cocok digunakan bagi kalangan muda. Koleksi selanjutnya datang dari kita Tukro. Koleksi yang ditampilkan bertema Pepper. Koleksi cover outfit untuk profesional look warna bumi. Busana ini dituangkan dalam 8 koleksi dengan bahan utama batik tenun sasek yang merupakan limbah tenun
Untuk busana kerja ini didesain untuk profesional yang senantiasa bergerak dinamis, serta menghadirkan kesederhanaan dan kenyamanan yang dibalut dengan desain timeless.
Ini dia koleksi Petra dari Tina Nugroho.
Koleksi selanjutnya dari Malik Mustara. Malik Mustara menampilkan koleksi busana bertema memorize. Seperti namanya, koleksi ini harus dapat menjadi kenangan indah yang akan selalu diingat oleh para penggunanya. Dalam koleksi kali ini, Malik Mustara memilih kain tenun baru bentuk seperti gaun, cap, atau polo, menjadi paduan dengan warna nuansa pastel, dan kita menjadi center of attraction. Ini dia, Malik Mustara.
Ini dia 20 model dari Universitas Negeri Jakarta.
Wow, that was a beautiful, stunning, on-point, and modern fashion show. Give applause to our designer and our model. Thank you.
Excellencies, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we are moving to the first discussion about nurturing alternative economy, green economy, and Sharia economy. This discussion will be moderated by CEO of BUMN Track, Mr. Ahmed Kurnia. Please come to the stage, Mr. Ahmed Kurnia. The stage is yours. Please give applause to Mr. Ahmed Kurnia.
Selamat pagi, Bapak Ibu sekalian. So I would like to give the time to Mr. Tom Lee, to give his views about Indonesia and Korea relationship, especially about how do you think about the Sharia? Is it still has a prospect, through the Kukmin Bank, Bukopin Bank? Is it still have a prospect? and how you deal with it before you enter Indonesia. How far do you know about Syariah, economic, everything? Maybe you can share with us about your views. Thank you very much. Your time is.
Selamat siang, nama saya Ko. 오늘 제가 살아오는 과정에 있어서 가장 아름다운 여성을 많이 본 것 같습니다. 여태까지 본 여성보다 오늘 보기 제일 아름다운 여성은 특히 옆에 있는 우리 이반도 그렇고 인도네시아 아름다운 여성을 많이 봐서 아주 마음이 기쁩니다. 그리고 아까 어느 분이 말씀하셨지만 인도네시아에서 K와 관련해서 K-드라마, K-팝, 그 다음에 K-스토어, K-푸드 다 유명하지 않습니까? 이제 앞으로 인도네시아에는 K뱅크입니다. K뱅크. 저희 K뱅크에서 잠깐 소개를 드리면 저희가 2020년도에 과거에 북코피라는 지분을 한국에서 가장 큰 K 파이낸셜 그룹에서 67%를 인수를 했습니다. 그래서 현재는 저희가 한국에서 가장 시정적으로 높고 가장 좋은 은행의 자회사로서 인도네시아에서도 과거의 북코피라는 KB 북코피로 해서 신용등급 트리플A를 받고 있는 매우 안전하고 좋은 은행이고 앞으로 더 좋아질 것입니다. 그리고 저희는 은행뿐만 아니고 7개의 다른 증권, 보험, 카드, 기프트 등 자산운용까지 현재 인도네시아에 저희가 진출을 해서 같이 진출을 해서 OneKB 인도네시아 세컨마더랜드 전략으로 가고 있습니다. 그래서 KB는 인도네시아와 영원히 함께 할 것입니다. 그래서 오늘 저한테 주어진 주제가 앞으로의 50년, 그 다음에 거기서 에코 에코노미에 대해서 그때 부탁을 해가지고 간단하게 말씀드리겠습니다. 아마 나중에 차례와 뱅크까지도 연결이 될 것 같은데 KB의 미션을 여러분들이 이해해 주시고 되게 앞으로 말씀드리기 편할 것 같습니다. KB 금융그룹 전체 모든 계열사의 미션은 금융을 통해 세상을 바꾸는 겁니다. 세상을 바꾸는 데 있어서 결국은 은행이나 금융거래를 통해서 소비자들이, 고객들이 더 행복하게 만들고 사회를 더 좋게 만들고 국가의 발전을 함께하는 겁니다. 그래서 인도네시아는 한국과 비교를 해보면 너무나 좋은 나라입니다. 넓은 나라에 좋은 국민들, 그 다음에 좋은 자원, 좋은 기후가 있는 나라입니다. 특히 인도네시아 국민들은 항상 행복하고 웃고 상대방을 배려하고 아주 좋은 마음을 갖고 있습니다. 다 좋은데 제가 1년 만에 자카르타니까 공기가 너무 안 좋았어요. 그래서 인도네시아의 많은 자동차와 자카르타의 많은 오토바이들이 전기차로 간다면 얼마나 좋은 세상이 될까 해서 저희가 전기와 관련된 것을 준비를 많이 했습니다. 그래서 저희가 지금 전기 자동차, 전기 버스와 관련돼서는 에코시스템을 거의 완비해가지고 잘 진행되고 있습니다. 특히 배터리 생산을 위해가지고 채굴에서부터 가고 배터리 셀까지, 그 다음에 자동차까지 가고 그것을 자동차를 만드는 것, 그 다음에 그걸 판매하고 자카르타에 버스가 움직여서 자카르타 주정부가 얘기하고 다시 폐기물까지 재활용하는 것까지 저희가 하나의 생태계를 만들어가고 거기에 저희의 많은 협력업체들이 같이 하고 있습니다. 인도네시아의 국민들이 더 잘 살고 좋은 환경이 되기 위해서 제가 볼 때는 한국인의 입장에서는 두 가지를 하면 잘 될 것 같습니다. 첫 번째가 일렉트로닉 비틀과 관련돼서 제가 볼 때는 이 나라에 1억 3천만 대 오토바이가 있습니다. 1억 3천만 대 오토바이가 있는데 문제는 해마다 100만 대 이상의 전기 오토바이가 바뀔 겁니다. 속도가 점점 빨라질 거고요. 근데 정부에서도 보조금이 약 70다 정도 보조를 해줍니다. 근데 저희가 파악을 해보면 전기 오토바이 살 사람들은 약 29다 정도의 자금이 필요합니다. 이거를 은행에서 대출을 해주면 되게 좋을 것 같아요. 근데 은행에서 대출해주기가 쉽지가 않습니다. 이렇게 고금리가 아닌 은행에 약 10%대의 금리로 쓰기를 한다면 이 나라 금리가 ESG 인바이러먼트가 좋아질 것 같습니다. 그런데 이 나라에서 개인들의 신용평가를 할 수 있는 여러 가지 정보기관의 데이터들이 링크가 안 돼 있어야 되는데 한국처럼 소득이라든지 세금이라든지 각종 신용도가 정부기관에서 관련된 자료가 은행이랑 연결된다면 아마 가능할 겁니다. 오늘 여기 언론 관련된 주요 인사분들이 계시니까 하나 제안을 한다면 정부기관의 자료를 KB 국보기라고 먼저 시범으로 연결을 해서 저희가 일렉트릭 빅들과 관련돼서 저희가 신용에 따라 대출을 해준다면 새로운 또 세상을 만들 수 있을 것 같습니다. 두 번째는 저희가 한국하고 다른데 은행을 이용하지 않는 다른 금융기관을 이용하는데 금리가 최소한 50%에서 100%대로 그럼 여기 인도네시아에서 열심히 일하는 근로자들이 이자 내고 나면 요즘수로 더 소득을 축적해서 중산층으로 올라가고 있습니다. 인도네시아의 많은 국민들이 일을 해서 받는 소득들이 부가 축적이 돼서 이 나라가 점점 중산층이 늘어나야 되는데 대부분의 이자를 은행이 아닌 이자를 다 나가다 보니까 매우 어려운 사람들이 많습니다. 그래서 저희 KBB는 플랫폼 비즈니스의 B2B2C를 이용해서 30%, 40%의 금리를 10%대로 지급하는 것을 내년에 오픈하려고 합니다. 근로자들은. 다시 말씀드려서 아까 말씀드린 바와 같이 KB의 미션은 금융을 세상을 바꾸는 금융, 특히 인도네시아에서 열심히 일하는 사람들이 부를 축적하게 만들고 번 돈들이 너무 많은 공금리로 나가지 않고 그 다음에 중소기업들이 대출을 받아서 신용으로 할 수 있게끔 이런 세상을 만드는데 저희가 지금 준비하고 진행하고 있습니다. 특히 인도네시아 정부가 크게 세 가지를 하고 있는데 그 중에 하나가 디지털, 두 번째가 샤리아, 세 번째가 ESG로 알고 있습니다. 디지털과 관련해서는 아까 설명했듯이 한국에서 제가 CIO를 했어요, IT. 그래서 지금 1차 버전으로 저희 KB 국보팀에서 스타 랭킹을 오픈을 했습니다. 아마 인도네시아가 가장 빠르고 가장 간단한 것들을 1차 오픈했으니까 한번 사용해 보시면 되게 좋을 것 같습니다. 오늘 여기 여성분들이 많은데 특히 여성분들을 중심으로 하는 상품을 별도로 만들어서 한번 하려고 지금 연구 중에 있습니다. 저희가 데이터를 보니까 남성분들도 좋지만 인도네 여성분들이 더 연체도 없고 그 다음에 책임감도 더 강하고 이런 측면이 많이 있는 것 같습니다. 그리고 인도네시아도 한국처럼 경제권을 여자들이 잡고 있습니다. 세 번째, 샤리아와 관련돼서는 아마 대한민국에서 유일하게 샤리아 뱅크를 갖고 있는 게 KB밖에 없습니다. 그래서 저희가 지금 샤리아 뱅크의 정상화가 이제 마무리됐고, 그러면 한국에서도 무슬림들이 많이 계십니다. 아마 한국에서 최초로 KB 샤리아 뱅크를 저희가 오픈도 좀 생각하고 있습니다. 그게 맞나요? 그래서 마지막으로 말씀드리면 저희가 내년도 두아블루 두아 2월 22일 날 KB 북고필에서 이름이 KB뱅크로 바뀝니다. 아까 얘기했던 KB뱅크는 뭐라고요? K 코리아 뱅크. 아무튼 오늘 이렇게 좋은 자리를 마련해 주시면 다시 한번 감사드리고 제가 말이 더 많았던 것 같습니다. 사회자한테 다시 드리겠습니다.
Intinya adalah akan segera masuk ke syariah dan juga bukan hanya akan beroperasi di Indonesia tapi juga akan beroperasi menjadi bank syariah pertama di Korea. Dan memang untuk perempuan memang ada khusus akan dibuatkan sebuah program karena mengingat bahwa rekor dari perempuan ini dalam hal penanganan kredit itu lebih bertanggung jawab ketimbang perempuan. Dan memang di sini juga telah hadir bersama kami adalah Ibu Ani Atmanto. Ya. Ibu Ani Atmanto itu adalah seorang tokoh yang bergerak di bidang pemberdayaan perempuan. Ya, beliau pengurus PBI pusat juga yang juga bergerak di bidang pemberdayaan perempuan dan juga menjadi komite ya, Committee of Sharia Economic Society. Ya. Beliau menjadi salah satu member dari masyarakat syariah di Indonesia. Dan seperti kita ketahui bahwa jumlah UMKM di Indonesia itu hampir 65% barangkali UMKM itu adalah kaum perempuan. Nah, bagaimana Ibu Ani Atmanto bisa cerita sedikit mengenai latar belakang pemberdayaan perempuan yang terlibat dalam UMKM dan memanfaatkan, mengambil peluang yang ditawarkan oleh KB Bukopin ini ya.
So thank you for the opportunity that was your presentation was awesome. That's exactly what we want ladies to hear, especially for the opportunity for the ladies. Since the data said that 64% of the small medium enterprises doer or activities is done by the women in Indonesia, and or it is the same like as 37 small medium enterprise with the projection in 2025 will have a total value of US dollar 135 billion. So which is very big. That's the projection for Indonesia. And in US dollars, because it's in US dollars. So the women's role in the small medium enterprise, especially, and then Sharia. Later, I will tell you why Sharia is very eagerly developing in Indonesia, because mostly the Indonesian are Muslims, and let's say, for example, we're going to the mall. How many percent of them is not wearing hijab? You may see whenever you're going around, a lot of people are wearing hijab or modest wear, and that is the biggest industry for women. Like we've just seen the fashion show of Malik Mustaram and Nina Nugroho just now. It was in modest fashion. Well, modest fashion is also one of the biggest industry in Indonesia, fully supported by the government, including the banking. This is in the Sharia context that I'm involving. The Bank of Indonesia right now is supporting the modest fashion in the Sharia context. So, and every state-owned government banks are also having their own programs for supporting the Sharia economic sectors nowadays. And now we talk about the green economy and women in Sharia economy. Of course, let me take examples because fashion is my passion. I'm also a designer, designing for the presidential palace. And for the fashion industry, we are now searching and exploring more in green economic and sustainable fashion. All the fashion designers are now improving on their capability and more research into sustainable fashion. And that sustainable fashion is having a very great impact into green economy. That's one of the examples. And why women? Women, when you teach one woman, she'll teach the daughter, and the daughter teach their friends. And one family will teach the next family's houses. Like we live here in Indonesia, most of the populations, they live like close by houses. And I have the Rumah Kreatif Ambiar Mako. I have this house of creativity, house for CSR, for companies and for people who want to donate. And what we do is we give soft skills to the women, yes, and the travel they don't hear, yes, people with disabilities, They come here mostly, but they are perfectly okay in soft skills. So we give like bidding courses for free. Bidding and sewing, that they can do. I mean, this part of people, they can do great things and can create awesome products. Awesome products that is small, medium, that is categorized. Small, medium enterprise sector's products. And they are supported after that. We give the skills, and the skill is developed, and then they teach another. And what they do is while they are selling, they are waiting for the shops. They're mostly mummies, for example. Mummies are taking care of the kids at home, and they have abilities to do, and they can look for money. And this, if we see a little, we can only see they have something. But when we see in a bigger scale of perspective, we can see the development of microeconomics. One family financially is supported, and into another, while they can take care of the family, they can take care of the children. So that is very important. And then, what these women need? These women need supported, like KB Bank said, for the credits, it's not only for the fund. It's not only for the fund actually. Once I was having discussion with the governor of Bank Indonesia, Pak Peri, and previously before with Pak Agus Martowardoyo, and we were discussing about how we can absorb the products. It's not only giving the skills through TSR is very important because it's developing the microeconomics in a global perspective. But in other way, the products they create and they produce have to be absorbed, and that is the biggest problem. And then the next is the global promotions, because Indonesian products is already everywhere. Like Christian Dior are wearing our hand-woven fabric exclusively and authentically from Nusa Tenggara Timur. So the Indonesian, if all the banks or like KB Copy is supporting these people working on small medium enterprise, it will be very big. It will grow. As it will grow, like in the projection of the 2025 is USD $135 billion. That's for the Indonesian only. That's for the Indonesian. And most of the small medium enterprise players are women. It's like 64.5%. So the potential is very big. But one of the problems, this problem can only be solved with such collaborations with the bank, with the government, with the stakeholders, with the doers, and with their own specifications. You know, like. But I think that's the most problem we're facing now. That we need to support the capability through soft skill enhancement and trainings, free trainings through GSR, and then the support of product development from companies, right? How to package, how to do the packaging well, yes, and then how to do branding, and then most of all, the digital play a very important role. How can they have as simple as a simple web describing of what they sell, so the buyer can contact them. As simple as that, and then further they can go more digitalized by ordering online from all over the world. And that's one I heard, one of the key concern to the digital. So that's the relation between the small medium enterprise, the woman, and the digitalization. That's it. And the other things, how can we go global? It is branding. It is media support. Branding about the product, because the product from Indonesia authentically different from the product from, let's say, Australia or Malaysia, because they have historical, like I'm telling you batik. Ibu-ibu desainer di sini pasti udah tahu bahwa batik dari Malaysia sama Indonesia, like batik from Indonesia and Malaysia different. Why different? Why do you have to argue about that? You don't need to argue about that because the batik from Indonesia, in the picture of a piece of batik, they're telling us the historical and the past about the Indonesian story in a piece of batik. And that's the value. And that's not everywhere in the world. And okay, that's the one. And how we can brand our products. And then the next is how can we support for these beautiful products and quality products to be absorbed, and to be bought. We were once discussing with the bankers that what about each bank, especially the government bank, is opening like the house of Indonesian local products, or maybe in their corporation, they have like Indonesian local products that their employees can buy and sold, like so they have market. Because that's the end of the needs besides the funding. So maybe that's all I can share. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I would like to give the floor to if any other questions that might be to Pak Tomli or to Ibu Ami. You can say it in Indonesia because it will be translated. Kalau bahasa Indonesia saya bisa mengerti, Ibu Ami bisa memahami. Kalau nanti Korea ada penerjemahnya yang untuk menerjemahkan. Silakan Bapak Ibu kalau ada yang ingin bertanya.
Pertama dengan Mr. Tomli. Saya dengar Bapak sudah mengakuisisi Bank Covid ya, dari KB ya. Bank di Korea yang akuisisinya KBB. Oke. Bank Covid itu dia bank syariah. Jadi kalau Bapak nanti mengakuisisi itu, policy di bank itu apakah masih menerapkan sistem syariah atau kembali lagi seperti sistem bank konvensional? Ya, jadi sebab ini ada perbedaan. Bapak tahu lah barangkali ya, bank syariah itu tentunya tidak, ya sepertinya tidak memperbolehkan pinjaman itu dibayar bunga, itu tidak boleh. Ya, sistemnya bagi hasil. Jadi kalau untung dibagi berapa keuntungannya, dan kalau rugi pun tidak ditagih. Ya, selama itu masih rugi, barangkali tidak membayar bunga atau pembagian keuntungan. Sebab pelaksanaan bank syariah pun tidak begitu populer dibandingkan dengan bank konvensional. Jadi kita ingin tahu bagaimana kebijakan nanti dari KB Bank ini dalam operasionalnya nanti ke Indonesia. Mohon penjelasan. Ibu Ani, kalau boleh saya sedikit mengusulkan, Ibu lebih banyak perhatian kepada small scale entrepreneurs ya, small scale industry. Saya pernah belajar di Jepang waktu itu, mempelajari tentang small scale industry yang mereka kembangkan bagus sekali. Mungkin Korea juga menerapkan begitu, bahwa perusahaan-perusahaan besar dia merawat perusahaan-perusahaan kecil yang ada di Jepang itu dengan sistem umbrella system, subcontracting system. Jadi perusahaan-perusahaan kecil itu mereka menjamin kalau mereka tidak punya modal pada bank. Perusahaan besar misalnya Toyota, misal satu contoh. Jadi mereka punya anak-anak perusahaan itu dia jamin kalau membutuhkan kredit. Jadi tugas perusahaan-perusahaan yang besar-besar di Jepang itu, dia hanya memberikan kepada perusahaan kecil beberapa part atau onderdil yang dibutuhkan dalam rangka membuat satu mobil. Dia memberikan hanya gambarnya, ya, detail barangkali barangnya akan diproduksi. Terus perusahaan yang besar itu mengontrol, ya, apakah barang yang dibuat itu sudah sesuai dengan permintaan daripada perusahaan besar itu. Nah, selebihnya itu ditanggung kalau biaya produksi, pinjaman dan lain-lain ditanggung oleh bank atas jaminan daripada perusahaan yang besar. Nah, untuk Indonesia itu agak sulit melakukan begitu, dan perusahaan kecil itu small scale industry atau small scale trading ini itu disuruh berjuang sendiri. Pertama, teknologinya mereka harus, ya, mengusahakan sendiri. Yang kedua, untuk operasionalnya membutuhkan biaya itu juga sendiri. Alangkah baiknya kalau kita populerkan di Indonesia, perusahaan-perusahaan yang besar, kan kita banyak juga perusahaan-perusahaan mobil, itu ada kerjasama dengan perusahaan kecil untuk mendapatkan bantuan modal kerjanya itu dijamin atau direkomendasikan oleh perusahaan yang besar. Sebab kalau kita mengharapkan kalau perusahaan kecil mendapatkan modal itu, susahnya setengah mati, Bu. Setengah matinya artinya mereka tidak punya kolateral. Nah, itu barangkali bisa diperkenalkan sistem subcontracting system dalam rangka membantu perusahaan-perusahaan yang kecil ini supaya bisa maju, supaya bisa tidak ada masalah dalam produksi. Ya, jadi kalau di Jepang itu, ya, saya tahu bahwa tahun 80 waktu saya ke sana itu sudah produksi mobilnya sudah mencapai 10 juta. 10 juta satu tahun yang dibagi atas 3 merek. Toyota itu kira-kira 3 juta, terus Nissan 3 juta, selebihnya itu merek-merek lain seperti Mitsubishi, ya, dan Mitsubishi, Honda, dan lain-lain. Jadi pasar untuk industri kecil-kecil yang dibantu untuk dibantu itu besar sekali, karena banyak item yang bisa dikerjakan. Nah, kenapa tidak kita terapkan dan Ibu bisa mendorong itu supaya pemerintah menganut sistem, ya, paling tidak subcontracting system itu mulai beberapa item saja dulu atau beberapa jenis industri saja dulu, ya. Jadi subcontracting atau umbrella system itu bisa diterapkan sekaligus bisa menaikkan derajat daripada perusahaan-perusahaan kecil yang ada di Jakarta atau di Indonesia. Demikian, terima kasih.
그런데 참여도 저희가 검색할 작업을 진행했는데도 국공부에도 좋은 분배를 같이 합니다. 그리고 저희가 아까 세일 제품이 게임으로 만들고 있어요. 게임 이벤트 참여하고 참여로 만들었습니다. 그리고 게임 참여는 블로그를 나갑니다. 그리고 두 번째 했던 걸 제가 하나만 딱 먼저 말씀드리겠습니다. 그리고 아르티스트에서 생각했지만 상품사업의 인도네시아하고 다른 나라였는데 그게 아까 질문을 드리고 그게 중점입니다. 한국에서 대기업과 중소기업이 상생을 할 수 있도록 정부가 계속 지원을 해주거나 기세를 갖고 있어요. 그래서 대기업과 중소기업이 함께 성장할 수 있도록 여러 가지를 같이 하고 있습니다. 아까 얘기한 것처럼 저희 KD 부분도 소프라이 친구들하고 다니고 지금 9개 기업이랑 같이 하고 있어요. 근데 대기업, 인도네시아는 한국 기업, 대기업들은 접근을 해보면 잘 이해가 안 돼요. 그래서 저희가 하고 있는 한국의 대기업을 진출한 인도네시아와 관련해 발표사항을 서프라이 친구들과 주의고 시간에 인도네시아에 관심과 지원이 필요하다고 했습니다. 결국은 인도네시아 국가와 인도네시아 기업과 인도네시아 기업이 미래에 어떤 철학을 갖고 준비하는 것을 준비하고 철학이 있어요. 디지털은 똑같아요. 디지털은 기술이 아니고 어떠한 무엇을 위해서 하는 데는 철학이 들어가기 때문에 그걸 큰 그림에서 인도네시아 정부와 금융기관과 정부이라는 고객들이 하나의 철학을 갖고 간다면 인도네시아는 엄청 더 빨리 좋아질 것 같습니다. 이런 것이
sebelumnya saya ingin menginformasikan bahwa setahu saya sudah banyak sekali perusahaan Indonesia yang merger yang memiliki binaan sebanyak mulai dari skala menengah sampai saat ini setahu saya saya itu punya binaan. Bahkan perusahaan-perusahaan mid scale, misalnya dia punya pabrik di rumah, dia udah kerjasama dengan CSR-nya, mereka membina misalnya mobil-mobil yang di jalan, itu sebenarnya banyak binaan dari mereka. Yang besar-besar banyak, tapi setahu saya memang belum bersosialisasi yang belum banyak yang memberikan financing dari perusahaan yang pembinaannya. Jadi selama ini masih banyak difasilitasi oleh bank. Nah ini saja saya yakin di depan hari bisa diperbaiki lebih baik lagi seiring perbaikan ekonomi dan perbaikan ekonomi nasional dan pastinya positioning perusahaan secara ekonomi. Saya itu penjelasan dari saya. Terima kasih.
Pertama saya ucapkan selamat ya bangga kepada Koreakini yang sudah sangat berkomitmen untuk menggunakan pendukung ya perkembangan ekonomi Indonesia, terutama tadi sudah di ekonomi ya. Kemudian pertanyaan saya berkaitan dengan kami apakah ada insentif khusus yang akan diberikan oleh Koreakini kepada para UMKM terutama yang sudah berkomitmen untuk mengembangkan ekonomi di Indonesia, karena setahu saya kalau UMKM itu justru mereka mendapatkan bulan berita gitu ya. Jadi apakah ada insentif khusus untuk UMKM? Kemudian untuk kami saya hormati, saya sudah sangat mengajar itu ya untuk membina ya para wanita perempuan ya, khususnya pengembangan ekonomi perempuan. Apakah juga akan ada peningkatan dari sisi tukang sibuk, karena sekarang itu yang kita lihat ibu-ibu yang terjerat pinjol-pinjol itu ya Bu ya, banyak juga dari perempuan gitu. Sedangkan tadi di Koreakini juga disebutkan salah satu program ke depan itu digitalisasi, ada peer lending dan lain sebagainya. Jadi mungkin itu tuh saran yang bukan saran mungkin sendiri sudah ada memiliki program yang cukup baik, karena komitmen kita seperti kita tahu di Indonesia itu kan majority UMKM ya Bu ya, yang memberikan kontribusi besar terhadap perekonomian di Indonesia. Itu aja, terima kasih.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to introduce myself to you. My name is Jakarta, and I'm from Jakarta. Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. Okay, maybe the question that I will ask to Mrs. berhambatan dalam pelaksanaan sosial kepada para perempuan di Indonesia. Mungkin that's it. Thank you so much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
첫 번째 시간을 대담하는데요. 저희 다음 회의 부분에서 중소기업을 지원해주는 여러 가지가 있습니다. 인도네시아는 중소기업한테 대출을 받을 때 반복 배상수를 강화해요. 저희가 지금은 아까 얘기했던 대기업과 관련된 업체들은 저희가 신용으로 저희가 배상조치 신고를 당하고 인보이스를 담으로 대출을 지금 해주고 있습니다. 두 번째는 저희가 정부 정책하는 호흡을 디지털과 연결해가지고 우리가 생산자에서 생산하는 사람들이 소비자한테 직접 하는데 필요한 자금을 얘기해주는 걸 디지털로 지금 확인을 해가지고 해보라고 지금 오픈을 준비 중에 있습니다. 세 번째로 중요한 부분은 인도네시아에서 온라인 마케팅 매우 큽니다. 온라인 마켓에서 판매된 중소기업들의 들어올 돈을 예상을 해가지고 필요한 미리 저희가 대출을 해주는 것을 하려고 합니다. 저희가 아까 말씀드린 것 같이 중소기업 미션이 세상을 앞으로 분명히 되려면 어느 나라나 중소기업과 일반 국민들의 중산층이 커져야 그 나라가 성장하고 좋은 나라가 됩니다. 이것을 얘기하는 학생들이 저희 호텔에서 신입 직원들 지금 계속 취업을 하고 있어요. 많은 직원이 부탁드립니다. 이러한 지금
Mereka dari tadi kita mulai sendiri ya. Soalnya biasa saya kalau nulis solusi jalan begini. Biasanya pagi-pagi ini in the morning I usually walk to check my production and walk those hours. And then this morning I haven't received more than 2 hours. So it's just for me. Ibu Eka, thank you very much for your question. Jadi saya mau jelaskan sedikit mengenai literasi. Problem dari Indonesia sekarang itu sebenarnya literasi digital, of course digitalized generation. And Bobby tadi udah bilang bahwa dia full support and emphasize and as a core digital bank dia akan support digital. Nah, untuk literasi itu benar sekali saya akan sampaikan namanya juga kebetulan ada teman hari kita di OJK mengenai keuangan itu nanti akan saya sampaikan kepada beliau agar para perempuan ini bisa perempuan tuh satu perempuan di OJK namanya Ibu Frederica. Nah, beliau bagian socializing nanti akan saya sampaikan kepada beliau agar di Indonesia ini lebih ditingkatkan literasi keuangan kepada perempuan, khususnya player in syariah economic sectors. Karena beliau juga member of economic syariah. Jadi terima kasih sekali masukannya. Terus kemudian adik saya yang luar biasa sih dong depan dong. Ya, you speak no English too. Over. Ini luar biasa sekali. You speak very good English. Semester berapa?
3.
Oh, itu semester 3 luar biasa. Di
Indonesia pelajaran
UIN. Oh iya, saya tahu UIN karena saya suka buatin seragamnya UIN. Is a good students. Oke. Jadi tadi saya lagi tolong diklarifikasi pertanyaan kamu apa?
Bagaimana cara Ibu Eki dalam mengatasi tantangan dan hambatan dalam pengimplementasian ekosistem kepada perempuan-perempuan di Indonesia?
Nomor 1, thank you very much. Silakan dulu kembali. Ini semester 3 aja begini. Nanti kamu semester 5 udah join. Oh, pantesan aja. Iya, kalau duduk begini boleh begini lagi. Benar tuh Pak. Jadi bagaimana mengimplementasi? Sebelum kita bicara Dan saya belum lagi Pak, dan Oke, bagaimana menjadi agent of change? Bagaimana? Perubahan-perubahan itu kita selalu sekarang yang nomor satu tidak boleh tertinggal adalah digital. Saya yakin generasi Z dan generasi milenial ini pasti sangat yang generasi yang paling tech, ya, generasi yang paling tech. Saya kadang-kadang masih kata saya, but you are the amazing generation, and I think that's the biggest market of yours. Because they're the ones who's using the technology most of the time. Because some of the Indonesians are older generation, and so you have to really do the segmentation to the market, choose the market. And bagaimana perubahan itu nomor satu adalah kita ya buat students harus terus mengikuti nomor satu fokus. Saran saya buat adik-adik sekalian fokus. Kenapa fokus? Fokus on your subject, focus on your major to succeed. You don't have to be able to do everything, but focus in one thing. Be a mastery in that one thing. And mastery kan yang aku bilang, okay, be master in your subject. Bagus banget, okay. So buat anak muda, in general, you have to know everything. In general, caranya gimana tipsnya? Kayak saya jadi udah sibuk nih pagi-pagi makan kuliah segala macam. Saya tinggal lihat-lihatnya dan news update. Udah ada tuh digitalnya. Apa yang menjadi headline itu kalian bisa tahu. Sehingga kalau kalian ngobrol dengan kalian bisa tahu what's update. Kemudian apa yang menjadi fokus kalian itu kalian dibahas. Pokoknya kalau untuk generasi muda, fokus to your subject, fokus to your major. Cari misalnya kamu mau buka usaha apa nih? Saya mau buka industri hijab gitu. Ini saya cari syariah nih. Oke, saya akan fokus to gain information untuk apa yang bisa mengembangkan diri kamu dan mengembangkan usaha kalian. Dan pengembangannya adalah tentu dengan selalu update terhadap teknologi dari keilmuan dan keterampilan di bidang tersebut. So remember what I said today. You don't have to master everything. You have to be the master of your passion yourself. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Please talk about financial and also about so the impact for labor, if we interview for the next generation, when we can get through the labor, because the multiplier effect, the multiplier effect and the multiplier impact is through the labor, because we will be the impact for the next generation. So I think this has been a good discussion today. Yeah, we hope that commitment of the both companies, especially from the we will fight together for another 50 years. We grow together and we will prosper also together between Indonesia and Korea. I think I have ended this discussion because of the much time and also short time. And I would like to end it with pantun. Kebutuhan tahun sini lewat Senayan. Dan terima kasih.
Thank you very much to the speakers and moderators for an informative and insightful presentation. But please take a moment because we are so honored to present a certificate of appreciation to all speakers and moderators. I would like
afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Mana di suaranya? Halo semuanya. Okay, first of all, I would like to introduce myself, of course. My name is Amanda Gunawan. I am an editor of Arrival ID, and so honored to be here to moderate this second discussion of the agenda with topic regarding the free and open university. I think this topic is quite broad, but we are talking free and open university to commemorate 50 years of diplomatic relations between Indonesia and South Korea. So we are going to talk about how Indonesia and Korea upgrading their relations in politics and defense in terms of free and open Indo-Pacific. Okay, today we are very delighted to have these two amazing speakers. So please welcome Bapak Taufik Rahman, Editor-in-Chief of the Jakarta Post, and Kuri Maharasafitri, an expert and lecturer at Bina Nusantara University. Please come to the stage.
Before I go deep into the Indo-Pacific, and I think this is very loaded term, and looking at the title of this discussion, keeping free and open Indo-Pacific, I think that for us in Indonesia, or especially in ASEAN, that could sort of create not problems, but I think that will generate discussion if we're going to start our discussion with the concept of open and free Indo-Pacific, because we know that the term is heavily contested. The US have their own understanding of this issue. Japan, Indonesia even proposes, Indonesia through ASEAN also propose this concept of Indo-Pacific. But I think we should sort of understand that this definition of Indo-Pacific, especially with the word free and open, that will come with additional baggage, additional meaning that probably that will have some sort of exclusionary basis to it. And by exclusionary, I want to emphasize on the great power rivalry in the region, which I think dictates how most countries in the region, Indonesia, all countries in ASEAN, South Korea, Japan, Australia, operate in the region. And I just came back from China. I had a one-week trip last week, and I had the privilege to talk with some of the key members of Chinese foreign policy establishment. And these are some of the most senior people both in the government and also in the think tank, strategic think tank in China, who sort of help craft government policies when dealing with the issue of ASEAN, especially with ASEAN and Indonesia. And I think I can sort of get a sense about their sort of pessimism, but also optimism about the region. So some of the things that I put in my presentation is sort of impression of all of the points, the key points from my discussion in Beijing with some of the key figures in the foreign policy establishment. I want to begin with sort of lay of the land, or the situation, the current situation in the region, which I believe will have very much great repercussion on our position, especially Indonesia's position in the region. And I want to start with the sort of current situation that I think East Asia and I think the whole region, East Asia, and I think this even to the point where Southeast Asia and also South Asia is, I think, still now the most actively in terms the most active region in terms of nuclear arm situation. We have a situation where we have countries like China, of course, having their own stockpile of nuclear weapons. And this obviously not create problems, but will have repercussion on the region around it. And we know for sure that North Korea also have their nuclear ambition, and we know that a lot of problems can come from the region simply from the fact that they are developing nuclear weapons and a number of accompanying technology that has created headaches for South Korea, Japan, and even China. And we cannot also hide the fact that Japan has their own nuclear ambition, South Korea obviously with attacking the US. So, and of course I have mentioned the situation in China. And on the border, on the southern border, you have Pakistan, you have India. These are countries that they have their nuclear stockpiles, and I think this we know the implication. This is the current situation that should give us worry about the possibility of. This is not so much the possibility of conflict, but I think major conflicts in the past mostly start from countries or bureaucratic establishment in certain countries making wrong calculation, and that could trigger conflict. So this is not so much about the potential of conflict that is high in the region, but I'm worried more about the potential for miscalculation or countries due to their bureaucratic structure making error in judgment, and we can have security problems. And this will be compounded by the fact that we have a lot of countries in the region having their own nuclear program, and that could create problems. So that's the first situation in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and also some of the region. The second defining characteristic of our region, or region that we're discussing today as Indo-Pacific, is of course the rise of, I have to say this is mini-lateralism. So I think in the past few years we have seen that countries in the region, in the Indo-Pacific region, and by mini-lateralism, I think this is a tendency from a small number of countries to gather together and create an alliance that will boost their own, and I have to say this is mostly for strategic or security interests. We see grouping like AUKUS, and I think this is a perfect example from the first situation that I have mentioned earlier about the nuclear competition in the region, and that nuclear competition is sort of that nuclear equation is sort of bring into the mini-lateralism equation with the rise of small grouping of countries trying to protect their security and strategic interests with certain technical capabilities. And we're talking in the case of AUKUS, this is related to the nuclear powered submarine. We have Australia, the United States, and the United Kingdom. They're sort of forming a nuclear-based alliance in Indo-Pacific region. And we also see the grouping of Quad, India, United States, Japan, what's the other one? Yeah, Quad, 4 countries. So these are mechanisms drawn up by this country to sort of deal with potential strategic and day-to-day security challenges in the region. That in the case of AUKUS, this has put questions into the efficiency or the effectiveness of regional grouping like ASEAN in dealing with their strategic and security problems in the region, to a point where, probably countries in the region are forced to make their choice in multilateralism outside of ASEAN, for instance. And now we have serious problem with the Philippines, for instance. Philippines, because of their sort of I don't want to say strategic alliance, but I think this is more to do with their sort of historical package with the U.S. Now they have created sort of an alliance with the U.S., with Japan, to sort of challenge the presence of China in South China Sea. And again, this puts pressure on ASEAN to be playing an effective role in what we like to call ASEAN centrality. So yeah, the rise of militarism is now sort of also the defining feature of Indo-Pacific. And the third point that I want to bring up is the historical legacy, and by historical legacy I want to sort of focus on the sort of the historical baggage that countries like China, South Korea, and Japan, this is a problem for them. This is not so much our problem, but this could also have spillover effect to us, because I think that the historical legacy between, I think the bad blood between Japan, South Korea, and China, this has hampered the way for the three countries, and these are three of the biggest players in the region, to sort of come up with effective solutions to bridge their differences. And the fact that one of them or two of them have nuclear weapons, that could sort of amplify the situation to the direction that probably this is not going to be good for the stability of the region. So I think it's not, I want to say that it's up to these three major players in East Asia to sort of resolve their differences, because in a number of ways there have been effort by, and this is effort from non-governmental organizations to sort of bridge historical differences among these countries, to have more people-to-people connection. But when it comes to sort of diplomatic resolve from the government, the outcome has been very different. So yeah, I believe there's historical legacy, especially in East Asia, will be very different. Will be very difficult to create a conducive situation in the region, especially in the Indo-Pacific region. The fourth point that I want to make is that the absence of region-wide, and I mean, we have ASEAN, but this covers only countries in Southeast Asia. And when it comes to reaching out beyond the region, beyond Southeast Asia, we have problems. The ASEAN plus 3, that has been effective for some time, but now it seems to be lacking in initiative. So, unlike the European Union, this used to be a very strong institution, and we have seen that it has played an effective role in sort of uniting Europe under the banner of the European Union. We have NAFTA, we have in Latin America, or African Union organization. These are region-wide institutions that, regardless of their effectiveness in binding the member states, but at least you have a region-wide mechanism to deal with problems when and if the problem arises. But in Asia, we have a huge collection of sub-regions that it is very difficult to have a region-wide mechanism to deal to be able to deal with our common problems, climate change or denuclearization, for instance. So there's also have create problem. And the last point that I want to make about the great power rivalry, this is obviously the elephant in the room. People talk about the competition, the rivalry between the US and China, and this now has come to define our position, Indonesian position, ASEAN position, China's position. They, based on my conversation with some of the folks in China, they always craft their ideas about ASEAN or about their place in the region in connection all the time with the allegation about the US encroachment, US activities in the region. And they even cannot see that our independent action, Indonesia's independent action in ASEAN, or even ASEAN independent action, is not informed by our relation with the US. So I think a great power rivalries between US and China has sort of defined how every country in the region operates. ASEAN, Indonesia, this has defined our lot basically for the years to come. So sort of this is I don't want to say problem, but this is the reality that now we're dealing with. But regardless of this, I want to sort of give a bit of an optimistic outlook about Indonesia, ASEAN, and the whole Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so I think I have mentioned like 5 points where we can sort of see the problem in the region. This could have potential problems, or if some countries make mistakes or they have wrong calculation, that could create serious problems in the region, in the Indo-Pacific region. If in the future, in the near future, for instance, the nuclear submarine that AUKUS has been trying to build materialize, then that could sort of create bigger chances of problems in the region. But I don't want to sort of dwell on the potential problem, but also now I want to move on to some of the sort of, I want to say, saving grace, or the potential that some of the negative outcomes or some of the potentially bad consequences may not translate into reality, simply because there are mechanisms, there are existing ways of doing things in the region that will sort of continue to keep balance of power, or the I have to say peaceful coexistence to remain in the region. And I want to first put emphasis on the pragmatism. I think countries in the region, even China or South Korea or Japan, in the past 40, 50 years, they have shown themselves to be pragmatic players in the region. And in the case of China, these are mostly economic consideration that motivates their action in the region. Even if the BRI initiative, Belt and Road initiatives, which the Western power has been considered as a threat, that this will probably link to a bridge or possible fortification of the Chinese military enforcement. But for China, this has their own pragmatic consideration that I think the economic structure in China has changed, that they have to find a way to invest outside of themselves, outside of China, and they look for business opportunity outside of the region. So probably this is something that is lost on the Western perspective, but I think pragmatism has been the practice in the region. Or in the case of Indonesia, for instance, I think we have been pragmatic enough to choose between the US and China, right? When it comes to business, when it comes to the economy, we choose to do business with China, right? But when it comes to military alliance, strategic alliance, we always, or even down to the procurement of weapons, we choose to align ourselves with the West, China or ex-NATO allies in the Europe. So I think countries in the region have been pragmatic enough to sort of agree to a point where, okay, let's do business and let's keep security and strategic consideration probably for later days. So not going to think about it today. And by economic interdependence, I want to also give emphasis to the fact that even Japan, China, and South Korea, which have some bad blood, historical problems in the past, and now you can feel, sometimes this is strategic or political tension in the region. There has been a strong, and I want to say, economic interdependence between the three major powers in the region. And I believe if you study, international political economy, I think one of the basic ideas was that economic interdependence can be an antidote for potential military or security conflict. So I think the economic interdependence between countries in East Asia, and also the link, the economic link between Southeast Asia and China, that's also a good thing in terms of maintaining peaceful coexistence between some of the key players in the region. And the third point that I want to make, I think this also helped us keep, you know, I don't want to say unity, but keep the semblance of community in Asia, in East Asia, even in Southeast Asia. And these are mostly come from the cultural, I think similar cultural identity shared by East Asia first and then Southeast Asia. And I think in the case of South Korea now, you have a massive wave of pop culture from South Korea. It used to be from Japan, it used to be Indonesia, this comes from China, and I think this help sort of cement Asian identity that sort of help to, you know, keep the bond in the region and prevent some of the, you know, strategic miscalculation once or if that happens. ASEAN centrality, I have mentioned this earlier about people have been criticizing ASEAN, but I cannot imagine that in Southeast Asia you don't have ASEAN, you don't have mechanism to deal with, you know, problems in the region, or ASEAN as a bridge to talk with a number of bigger players in the region, be it the United States, Japan, China. I think ASEAN, despite its flaws, despite its failure to deal with Myanmar situation, for instance, that has been very effective in the past 50 years to create stability in the region. The second last point, I think, overstretched empire. I'm not too sure if the U.S. in the coming years will be willing to create security problems in the region, simply because they already have problems in Ukraine, now they have serious problems in Gaza, in Israel, in the Middle East. So I'm not too sure if the flashpoint in Taiwan and their beef with China will be resolved in sort of the use of you know, strategic consideration in dealing with China. So I believe now the US is already overstretched, so I don't think they have any interest to create security problems or to create security disturbances in the Indo-Pacific region. And the last point of our saving grace, I think it's going to be people-to-people connection. We have, you know, a massive number of people traveling, coming into different cultures in East Asia, from Southeast Asia, or the Korean wave that I mentioned earlier. I think that has, again, cement a bond for the region, to a point where I think this has come to define the relationship of countries or region, or nations in Asia and East Asia and East Southeast Asia. Probably I'm going to stop there before I talk too long. Probably I'm going to touch on some of the policy recommendations later in the Q&A section. I hope I'm not too long in my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm done that. Thank you for giving us the insight for the current situation in Indo-Pacific, about the challenges and all about we have to worry about. So we are moving to the second speakers, Mbak Kyuri Maharani Savitri. Okay, Mbak Kyuri, please. Okay, today I plan to deliver something special. Usually when we talk about South Korea, we see the image of BTS, Blackpink, or any other idols, yeah, that we are fans of. But now I'm going to discuss about the different South Korea. The South Korea as middle power, with newly interest to this region, especially to Southeast Asia. And then they use special tools called arms transfer. Yeah. So this is a different kind of Korea that we're going to discuss today. So previously our distinguished speaker has explained all about the changing geopolitical dynamics, yeah, in Indo-Pacific. And if we talk about South Korea also is part of Indo-Pacific. But before 2017, they are preoccupied with what happened in Korean Peninsula, because technically South Korea is still at war with North Korea. So previously, Pak Teguh told me that this building has hosted both ambassadors from South Korea and North Korea, and I would like to clarify that we're going to talk about their disputes. Yeah, we'll touch upon that a little in today's discussion, with the hope that what we are going to discuss today will shed the light on the future of Indo-Pacific and Korean and both Korea. Okay, so South Korea has been so preoccupied with what happened in Korean Peninsula. Some of you who enjoy the movie called Crash Landing on You, I mean, I really enjoyed that movie so much during the pandemic. And the movie actually tells us a lot about what kind of relationship that both Korea has. You know, full with mistrust and distrust and lack of communications, yeah. To the point that when it goes down to people and people relations, yeah, they find actually more similarities than differences as Korean. They even exchange banters in both Korean dialects. So it is only in 2017 under President Moon and then later on President Yoon, South Korea started to direct its attention to Southeast Asia. Why? Because of what our distinguished speaker, Mas Taufik, said before. The Indo-Pacific is so dominated with the narratives of great power rivalries that it is so difficult for South Korea to maneuver in between China and US. US is of course the biggest security partners and the second economic partners of South Korea, and China is the biggest trading partners as well as a very important players in making sure that non-proliferation program in Korean Peninsula continues to work effectively. So South Korea need to diverse their partnerships, and ASEAN seems to be a good choice. It is close, it is neighbor, we don't have any hostile relationship whatsoever with South Korea in the past. We have no issue whatsoever with South Korean military. Yeah. And ASEAN and South Korea find more convergence of interests. For example, when South Korea issue their outlook of Indo-Pacific, they share lots of norms and values with ASEAN. And moreover, South Koreans are keen to support ASEAN centrality when it comes to Indo-Pacific. However, there is also another geopolitical shift that we need to reflect upon and how it affects Korea's relations with ASEAN. That is the war in Ukraine. Some of you may not know that 9 out of 10 ASEAN countries are customers to Russian weapons. And after 2017, after the United States and its alliance put military embargo over Russia's arms export, these countries cannot buy anymore from Russia. So they need to look for new alternatives. This is where South Korea come into presence, come into the radar of most Southeast Asian countries. Okay, so what can we actually expect from South Korea? Okay. Aside from being exporters of Korean waves and idols and unrealistic standards of beauty, we expect Korea to play a significant role as, peace builders, as partners, yeah, and in order to have that level of trust and expectations, managed by the two parties, Korea and ASEAN. We need also to understand how powerful is actually South Korea. So if you look at Lois Institute Asia Power Index, it is an index that measures powers of 26 countries in the Indo-Pacific, including Russia. You will find that South Korea is actually ranked 7 out of 26 countries. It is considered as middle power, along with Japan and, you might be surprised, Russia. Russia is now already considered as middle power. It is no longer great power it used to be. So, where does South Korea score high with regards to its power? First, South Korea has vast networking of defense partnerships. It has all kind of cooperation, mostly with at the highest level is with United States, of course, but it has relationship with all ASEAN member countries. And also don't forget about diplomacy and soft power. We all grieve with the fact that South Korean idol BTS still have to enlist for the military conscript, regardless of what they contribute to the South Korean economy. But this also reveals the importance of domestic security of South Korea to us. The image of South Korea, if you look at the ASEAN, the surveys conducted by ISIS Singapore in 2023, when the elites of ASEAN countries were asked to choose between 6 middle powers in the region, who is your most preferred partner, when you have to hedge against the great power rivalry, surprisingly, South Korea comes last. This shows that regardless of the amount of Korean drama and idol and concept that's been consumed by the region, we don't trust them as strategic partners. South Korea leans towards on how to have a better image projected in Southeast Asia. And I believe that South Korea has an important role to play for the Indo-Pacific region and importantly for the ASEAN. Last year, CSIS has issued a good evaluation on South Korean and ASEAN relationship, and I would recommend you the book for further reading. So CSIS basically stated that ASEAN has high expectations from South Korea, and South Korea has started to understand that. Among the things that they have done recently is to provide, for example, they support the building of maritime security capacities, for Philippines, Vietnam by donating old ships, and they also donate to Indonesian Coast Guard, in form of training institutes. And just today, I read newspaper that the South Korean has started to conduct what they call as military engineering exercises to support peacekeeping operations. They conducted it with Cambodia today, but they aim to export it with 2 other Southeast Asian countries such as Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. However, there are other areas where I believe that Korea could really shine on. That is the area of military technology. So Korea has been the largest arms suppliers to several Southeast Asian countries: Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. And not only that, South Korea is currently the 9th biggest arms exporters in the world. And their market is not limited to Southeast Asia or, least our late developed countries. with small defense budget, who can afford, the second or the downgraded versions of American equipment. Yeah. But they also score massive contract with UAE, and the latest being with Poland, which break the historical records of arms export. So Korea is now getting more and more be seen as the global arms pivotal countries. So they no longer seen as country with cultural soft power projection, but they started to encroach into the area of hard powers as well. But can Korea afford to be seen with this kind of image? And what is the future outlook? I would say two things. The first is that South Korea needs to rethink about the strategy for using arms export as part of their foreign policy tools. Because Korea is middle power, they cannot afford to transfer arms to the wrong parties or to conflict parties that could produce a counterproductive impact. For example, at the moment, South Korea export artillery, munitions to United States, which then will be forwarded to Ukraine. This could be seen as issues by the Russia, and South Korea will need Russia to help stabilize the Korean peninsula. Also, for example, the fact that South Korea is the largest arms exporter to Philippines, and providing Philippines with massive arms, that they will use to defend themselves against China in South China Sea, will also could be seen as aggravating issues between South Korea and China. The other would be South Korea needs to rethink about the limits of using arms trade and transfer of technology as foreign policy tool. For example, South Korea has unfinished business with Indonesia with regards to submarine and the KF-21 fighter jets. Indonesia didn't pursue the second batch of submarine sales from Seoul, despite the SMEs, as the prime contractor has already booked of critical components. And then Indonesia also late in its payment for cost sharing of KF-21, which will overdue in 2026. So if Seoul cannot fail to convince Indonesia or to address those two issues in timely manners, this will not only affect Seoul in terms of financial losses, but also it might lose its credibility as arms supplier in the region. And the relationship between South Korea and ASEAN, because Indonesia is the biggest in terms of population, in terms of economy. Therefore, a problem with Indonesia might spill over to other relationship with ASEAN countries as well. So I will stop until now. I will stop now with a sentence. I believe that despite the problems between the South Korea and Indonesia, the two countries will be able to overcome that in the future. And I will be happy to discuss about that in the Q&A session. Thank you. I will return this to Mbak Moderator.
Thank you, Mbak Guru. Boleh? Okay, from what I've noted that the fact is South Korea is one of the largest arm exporter for Southeast Asia, and this is one new information for me.
Okay, we start to open the second part of the discussion, Q&A section.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clara, and I'm from State University of Jakarta. And I want to state first that in this world there are two great power countries that you've mentioned. Taufik, yeah, you've mentioned them as a rival, which are the USA and China. You also have mentioned that the USA won't make any problems or trouble for us, Indonesia, because they are already in an imperial overstretched stage. Let's say that we are agreed because there's no problem with the USA and South Korea. But for these free and open Indo-Pacific terms, we are afraid and worried that they, the great power country, especially China, could intervene the foreign policy of our beloved country. Because Indonesia are afraid of the war that will occur between both countries, Indonesia and China. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, one question and answer. Okay, please.
Okay. Well, I think it's difficult to foresee a region, especially Indo-Pacific region, where you don't have the presence of either of these players. So I think we now have to accept the fact that the US and China will remain a key players, or we will have to deal with their presence, their existence, or in the event of a military build-up, we also have to be ready with the possible consequences. Because I think now we have a consensus that Asia Pacific, or however you may want to call this, Indo-Pacific region is where the great power rivalry happens. This is where the contestation happens, and you cannot have either of these two key players being kicked out of the region. They're not going to go out quietly, and in fact, they will remain in the region whether we like it or not. So I think the question for Indonesia is how to navigate this current situation, and I think it has helped us a lot that from the get-go, from the very beginning, Indonesia, and I think in all the government after reformasi, in the presidency of Gus Dur, Megawati, Pak SBY, and now presidency of Jokowi, despite the fact that Pak Jokowi has traveled to China for 7 times in the past 2 terms, I think we have an unshakable foundation of free and active foreign policy where we should navigate this situation. After all, I think this is Bung Hatta in the early in the 40s when deciding on what Indonesian foreign policy would look like. He mentioned that I think Indonesian foreign policy is always mendayung di antara dua karang, and by that I think he refers to the competition between the US and the USSR, and now we have another stage of competition between the US and China. So I think this is now a fact of life, and I think what we can do in Indonesia as a middle power is to sort of navigate this current situation, the current tension, and I think due to our internal limitation, now the cornerstone of our foreign policy is ASEAN, and Indonesian foreign policy is translated mostly through ASEAN. It doesn't always work. ASEAN comes with its own limitation, but I think for the foreseeable future, we should expect Indonesia will continue to play this role, and in the event of a major conflict between the US and China, well, I have to be honest that I don't think that this is going to be in a very immediate future. I think the US or China will take a very deep look about what they will gain or lose in the event of clashes between these two great powers. So I think in the coming years, in the coming decade, we're going to see the building of tension, but I don't think that we're going to see a release anytime soon. So yeah, again, this is a fact of life that we have to deal with in the coming years or in the coming decade. I hope that answers your question.
My name is Sarimatul Ulya and I'm an international relations student of University of Jakarta. So I found that this discussion, this topic is very interested to discuss in this forum nowadays, especially remembering that Indo-Pacific itself has been the home of 60% of world population and also 40% of international trade occurs in Indo-Pacific. And it is also interesting too that there is a great power rivalry in Indo-Pacific, which is the USA and the Quad, and then the China. And it is, I think it's interesting too that South Korea lately adopted the free and open, the Asian outlook on Indo-Pacific, which is first initiated by Indonesia, in fact. And then I would like to ask about how the South Korea respond to the security competition in the Indo-Pacific, especially considering the existence of great power rivalry. I think that's it.
Thank you, Mbak, for the question. Yeah. The brief facts that you mentioned before your questions actually the same. You can find the same statements in the South Korean outlook on Indo-Pacific. The realization that the Indo-Pacific holds importance or strategic values in terms of demography, in terms of trade, etc., etc. And when it comes to South Korean assessment of the security risks and strategic alignment in the Pacific. So I believe that South Koreans understand the risks of the potential of great power rivalry. And you're majoring in international relations, right? Okay, so you must have discussed with your lecturers during the class about a theory called the power transition. So power transition theories basically postulates that the world will be safer. The conflict risk will be minimum if there is one hegemon. A superpower countries that everybody is happy with. And either respectful or fearful. However, if there is one rising challenges and the hegemon power is declining, the moment their power converge, or the power gap narrows, there is the critical moment where conflict could possibly happen. And the hegemon will do anything to prevent that from happening. So what we see at the moment, how the Americans use their trade as a tool of war against the China is one of the part of the efforts to prevent power transition from happening. We in Venus, we actually construct a study conducted by RAND Corporation. RAND Corporation is one of the biggest think tanks in the world. So RAND Corporation conducted this study on power cycle, and then they measure powers of all members of G20, and they extrapolate. They make prediction based on the trends of power, and they come up with this conclusion that in 2030s, Chinese power will overtake US powers. And they come out and they test the theory with different scenarios. For example, what happened if in one scenario China's economic growth will be, slowed down by, whatever shocks. COVID-19 might be one of it. Yeah. And they predict that the power transition will still take place, but it'll take like 7 to 8 years later. So based on this, the end of the day could come in between 2030 to 2037 or 8. And you better just finish your study quick and get married, but don't bother to buy a house unless you want to set up a bunker, strong enough to deal with nuclear catastrophe. Anyway, for South Korea, declining US power and rising Chinese power means less and less maneuver for them. And for Korea, as the ally of United States, they also need China because China is currently their second biggest trade partners. So every time they close to China, it will be seen as probably betrayal. Okay, this is overstating. But you know what I mean. It's getting more difficult, to conduct normal relationship with either of the great powers. So they need alternative partners such as ASEAN. That's why you will see the strategic alignment in Indo-Pacific is also moving to more inclusive engagement. To see South Korea more presence in Southeast Asia, providing training, providing capacity building, providing supports, and Southeast Asia see South Korea as potential strategic partners as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to ask actually two of you for these questions. It's about what role of Indonesia can take to make or to guard this free and open Indo-Pacific in terms of Korean situations, the Korean Peninsula. Unlike the situation in Gaza, Indonesia didn't have diplomatic relations with Israel, so it's kind of complicated for Indonesia to take a role. But in Korea Peninsula, the North and South, Indonesia has a diplomatic relations with North and South. So what do you think Indonesia can, become a mediator or something? Because in Asian Games 2018, where Indonesia is the host of Asian Games, the two Korea united in one flag. That's mean Indonesia has, something to give for peace in Korean Peninsula. Maybe
If this is not Indonesia, I think the answer will be pretty straightforward. But I think with Indonesia, and especially in the past 10 years under Pak Jokowi's presidency, I think we have seen limitation to what we can do. So I think what happened in the past 10 years, this is, I think, is more of a symptom of I think the lack of coherence in our foreign policy. I think we have, as it is, now Indonesia is a middle power. As a middle power, there's inherent weakness, or to what extent we can do something about, playing our role in international politics. So even if we are in the best situation as a middle power, there's a range of options, but there is also limitation to what we can do. But especially, I think unique with the administration of Pak Jokowi is that I think Indonesia, we have very limited interest in playing a bigger role in foreign policy. I think I think last month there was this debate at CSIS, and one of the presidential candidates, I think, captured this limitation. He's using the word transactional foreign policy. We remember the trip from Pak Jokowi to Ukraine, right? This is in the context of G20. This is our sort of our moment to to steal the spotlight, to to shine a light in a very dark moment in global politics. But the deliverable from that summit with President Zelensky and President Putin was the access to grain in Ukraine, right? So this is a very low bar to clear. That one, and we have to also remember that the current president has been very reluctant to play a big role in international politics. He has been absent from UN General Assembly, right? To the point where this presidential candidate, when asked what will be your first major trip, I will make the trip back to the UN. So okay, this may be a political campaign slogan, but this is sort of a reflection of the past 10 years of our foreign policy, where we aim a bit low in the bar, that even in the best moment where we're expected to shine, we also keep the bar very low. G20 was a bright spot, obviously, but it could have been done in a more, I don't know, the outcome could have been better, and I think our place in the world could have been elevated, but that's we still come up short. So my point is that I think as a middle power we have limitations, but especially in the past 10 years we sort of stumble our way through in international politics. And when it comes to like real questions about what we can do in the Korean Peninsula, to be very honest, I think the Gaza experience shows that there's a limit to what we can do. And again, what happened in the Korean Peninsula, I think it's more complicated. This involves great power rivalry. This involves major players, and we have played our part in the past, and that sort of also came up short. So I don't want to undersell Indonesia, but I think we have to be realistic to what we can achieve in international politics. I hope that answers the question. Silakan Bu Puri.
Thank you, Mbak. So Indonesia's diplomacy's profile has been boosted over the last year with its engagement in G20, and also along with other international engagement. People used to ask, what is the main characters of Indonesian foreign policy really? We talk about the free and active, but how is the operationalization of free and active in great rivalry today? Because the quality and characters of that rivalry today is different from the one we had during the Cold War. And Indonesia is a middle power, but Indonesia also the de facto leader of ASEAN. As we mentioned before, Indonesia has demographic benefits, therefore Indonesia's power is will continue to rise in the future. But to what extent this power can be used by Indonesia, of course, it depends on the president, and more often it actually depends on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. If you see the vision and mission from the previous president candidates, Pak SBY, for example, in his first vision, never mentioned about Islam or gender or things like that, but in his foreign policy, because of Pak Hasan Durayuda, he brings in diplomatic value very close to moderate Islam, and therefore it really characterizes Indonesian foreign policy. When it comes to South Korea, however, it is not just Indonesia, but also in ASEAN, I believe we haven't got any strategy to deal with. We tend to hide behind the rules-based order, and we tend to pursue our role as norms enhancer, and we tend to approach South Korean Peninsula's issues through the lens of non-proliferation, because we are against proliferations of nuclear. And however, we also don't want to keep North Korea out, because we are a big family. So although we don't do any significant things to be, peace broker or mediator, because that's already taken by the great powers, the five parties talk. But we make sure that all the parties will continue to abide by international laws and norms, and that also make sure that the ASEAN and Indonesia safeguard their national interests. With regards to Gaza, you might know, well, when you follow all the news coming from the non-mainstream or the mainstream media, there are times where Indonesia was mentioned lots of time, because when the Indonesian hospital was under attack, it sort of bring realization that, oh, we actually had a big hospital there, and it is not built by the government, right? It is actually built by the contributions of non-state actors, So I think we also need to look at para-diplomacy, diplomacy that's been taken care by non-state actors when it comes to being, peace mediators or peace brokers or similar diplomacy to conflict area. But also, I think Indonesia also realized that there is high expectation, and I think Bu Retno has justified this expectation by bringing Israel into the ICC, the criminal court, for allegations of conducting war crimes. I think this is a good step that Indonesia take, and I think the rest is actually up to you guys, how we're going to play that, because there are so many roles we can play as citizens, for the two conflicts.
Okay, let's talk about KFX. Let's talk about KFX, IFX. As you mentioned that before, that you hope that Indonesia and Korea will overcome the obstacle, but do you think that this kind of problem will influence the trust of South Korea to Indonesia for the upcoming operation, maybe?
Well, if you look at how the South Korean media cover Indonesia, every time Indonesia announce procurement of new arms import, for example, F-15 or Rafale fighters, the South Korean hate it. They ask, how come Indonesia spends so much money on arms import, but they refuse to pay their cost sharing? Well, Indonesia has committed to cost sharing since 2012, and for some reasons we keep delaying payment, and then we try to negotiate back in 2019. So we spent almost like 2 years for that, and then last year Bu Sri Mulyani issued another payment, but it's still far away, from the amounts that we should pay to South Korea. But if you look at the history of South Korea, and it's very important actually for the IR students, the Indonesia and South Korea, our relationships can be traced back to decades ago. But we only have DCA or Defense Cooperation Agreement with South Korea, about a decade ago. But before this DCA was ratified in 2018 or 2019, we've already operationalized some of the most advanced cooperation between defense industries. Ya. So itu ibaratnya kayak kudanya lari duluan ninggalin kereta. So we have not ratified the defense cooperation agreement, but we have already engaged ourselves in a very deep cooperation. Yeah. Joint development of fighter jet. Yeah. Preconditions similarity of threat perception, long commitment, yeah, both financially, human resources, infrastructures, up to the procurement, yeah. And before we consolidate our relationship with South Korea, we already, yeah, commit ourselves. Yeah. It's probably too much, and so it came back to us now. Yeah, I think the government started questioning, yeah, what was the purpose of doing this, and then are we still going to buy from South Korea? Yeah. But for me, this soul-searching journey must come to an end. Yeah. Indonesia has to honor its commitment. Yeah. However, you know, on the other side, I also beg the Korean to be more considerate with what, yeah, are the concerns of the Indonesian. Yeah. So the two countries have had issues before with the transfer of technology when Indonesia procured landing platform dock from South Korea back in 2007. Yeah, we asked some of the works to be done in Tikipal in Surabaya. Yeah, and it didn't go smoothly, and we had to bring in the third consultant party. But eventually we made it, and we even score exports to the Philippines. And when we were during the lowest, yeah, time of our economy, during the economic crisis, yeah, South Korea was probably the only partners that are willing to sell us weapons, and at the same time sharing the works with us, yeah, so that we were able to maintain the survivability of our defense industry. So, regardless of the lack of institutionalism between Indonesia and South Korea in terms of defense cooperation, we have that history and chemistry, which I hope will be enough, yeah, so that the two parties can resolve their problems, yeah, before 2017. And I think we should ask our presidential candidate as well about their commitment, yeah, because if they cannot commit to the promise they made more than 10 years ago, then how can they promise they could, you know, deliver the promise they made to us now?
Yeah, so actually I'm not asking any questions if it is okay for the speakers. I just would like to add some comments regarding to the KFX IFX, because I think this is one of my concerns. I've been to the KI in 2016, I think, to see and to meet with our engineering from PTDI. They were there, but it was, of course, before the pandemic era. So I think the problem is this. I think that the current government, especially the new, yeah, it is not new anymore but it was new in March 2020. I'm talking about Prabowo Subianto, the defense ministers. In March 2020, he just appointed as a defense minister by Jokowi in the second term. I met with him at the time, not alone, but with the rest of, our chief editor's friends in his house, just before we closed our countries for the pandemic. Yeah? I think he has different definition about threat. So this is what I mean. So this is regarding to the definition of threat and also the timing of the threat. Because for people like Prabowo Subianto, the war can be happen tomorrow. So if the war would be happen tomorrow, we need weapons not 2026. Because if we finish the project in 2026, then we can produce the jet fighters for ourselves. Let's say we need another 5 years to fulfill what we need, the numbers, the sum of that we need. So meaning that 2031. So if the war could be happening tomorrow, we need the weapons, enough weapons today. So that's first. I mean, the definition of threat by particular defense minister. And the second one, I think, it is about the power of rent seeker in our countries. Because as you know that in many fields, seems like we don't care about building our own strength. We are controlled since long time ago by the rent seeker groups, including in arms providing. So this is the problem. So for them, it is better for them to buy the weapons, the arms from other countries rather than build by yourself. And the third one, I think it is mentality that we have as a nation. Seems like we are anti-industrialization. So this is also a problem for us. Not only the elite, not only the middle class, but also the younger generation. They are not tending to be entrepreneurs. Sorry to say, guys, because I'm your lecturer, so I can say this. Yeah, so this is like a combination of these three things, and this will create a more problem for us in the future regarding to the KFX. So, my suggestion to my friend from Republic of Korea, sitting next right to me, if Indonesia cannot fulfill his commitment, better for you to sell our share to Monaco, because we have same flag. Yeah, Monaco, just like us, Indonesia. Because on the jet fighters is already Indonesian flag. So you don't have to delay the flag. That's Monaco. Or you can sell it to Polandia. So if it is to Polandia, you just reverse the flag. Or you can find another one. Because seems like Indonesia don't care. Indonesia don't want to make any war with any countries. I love this. But at the same time, we let ourselves depend on external powers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Teguh. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add a little to what Pak Teguh has mentioned. And I think I want to focus on more of a structural problem here. I think I completely agree with the rent-seeking behavior, and I think, but I think we have a more structural problem in a sense that I think in Indonesia, and this is especially after Reformasi, we don't have a foreign policy structure or foreign policy making structure, because you have foreign ministry, but you have other competing organizations trying to influence our foreign policy. And to make things worse, these are mostly defined by key individuals. We don't have organizational mechanism to craft or to formulate foreign policy, other than the fact that sometimes if you have strong individual in the cabinet or strong individual in the state palace, you will have a completely different forms, or you will have a different formulation of foreign policy. For instance, now we have multiple centers of powers when it comes to foreign policy. In the business of dealing with China, you have this minister, right? In the business of dealing with the US, you have a different minister. In the weapon procurement, obviously we have Mr. Prabowo, the primus inter pares in foreign policy when it comes to defense budget. So we have multiple players, but these are not institutionally based, but these are mostly relying on key figures. We have Pak Luhut, we have Bu Retno, we have Pak Erlangga when it comes to the US or the West. So this further complicates our coherence when it comes to foreign policy, and this is of course compounded by the rent-seeking problems that we have, or the lack of initiative to develop new technology. And by technology, I mean this is homegrown technology. Thank you.
Okay, last questions. Please mention your name and answer questions.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Andil Sabilahisna. I'm international relations student from Jakarta. I heard about the neutrality of ASEAN. I would like to ask, how can ASEAN countries remain neutral in the midst of the rivalry between the two great powers, America and China? Thank you.
Good questions, Mbak. What is neutrality? Yeah. I tried to brought up the discussion about neutrality several times, but usually it was dismissed by other IR fellows. Yeah. I don't know what happened with our perceptions of neutrality. Neutrality is defined as not taking side between the warring parties in the event of war or open conflict. Yeah. So what does it mean by not taking sides? It means we do not discriminate, we do not support them in the conflict or in the war. However, we still able to continue our relationship with both or all warring parties or the belligerents, yeah, in accordance with international law. We can continue our relationship with all belligerents, but we cannot discriminate them. That is neutrality. Neutrality doesn't mean that we don't take part, yeah, in trying to resolve the problem in between the warring parties. But we make sure that we are not going to be the part of the conflicting parties. And by declaring neutrality, we are entitled for protection. Because the UN has convention that regulate the rights and the obligation of neutral parties. So by saying we are neutral, for example, in the future great power war, Indonesia is neutral, ASEAN is neutral. Then either warring parties, China or America, cannot attack us and cannot use our territory to launch attack against their enemy. And this becomes a problem. Why? Because of strategic alignment, AUKUS Quad necessitates the use of international waters in ASEAN for the US alliance to launch their power to Taiwan in case there's a case of invasion from China mainland. So if we declare neutral, the US can use our waters for their warships, but then they have to consult us with regards to any nuclear powered or any nuclear weapons that they might carry, because it will be against our regulations. But are they going to do that? Exposing themselves? Yeah. Signaling their position to their enemy? We don't think so. Yeah. So I think it's about time we discuss about neutrality, and I applaud your questions. I hope it will continue with, I don't know, undergraduate thesis perhaps.
I think probably I want to rephrase the question is, with this competition between US and China in the region, is it possible for countries to remain neutral, or doesn't take side, like doesn't have to choose between US and China? But I think at the end of the day, countries in the region are pragmatic. I think I alluded earlier about that. On the issue of economy, for instance, most of ASEAN countries, they rely on China. But on the issue of security guarantee for the region, I think obviously we choose the US. I think the difference will be on the degree of dependence to either these two major players. I think now, for instance, the Philippines, for instance, under Duterte, they're trying to make, they're trying to build a better position with regards to China. They want to have a rapprochement with China, but that doesn't seem to be working. And I think Marcos Jr. Is faced with no option but to turn back to the US because of their problems with China. Or we take the example of Vietnam. Now they're moving closer to China for obvious reason, for economic consideration, because now the structure of industry in China is changing. They have to relocate, and these are partly the result of the competition with the US. Industries in China are relocating, and Vietnam is the most welcoming place in the region. They're trying to come to Indonesia, but what happened is, Rempang or crisis in Morowali, for instance. So Vietnam is the most hospitable place for them. So I think I want to sort of put, the rivalry in a sort of comparative way when it comes to ASEAN countries, because I think ASEAN countries being very pragmatic in dealing with these two major powers. So yeah, I think the best option for them is whatever best suited their national interest, if I'm going to be very realist on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Taufik and Mbak Puri. Okay, because of the limitation time, so we have to close these discussions. We hope, of course, Indonesia and Korea will strengthening their relations hand by hand, can overcome the challenges, and then explore the opportunities for another 50 years, another 50 years, and another 50 years. Oke, terima kasih banyak semuanya. Thank you for the speakers, for the amazing and insightful talk. Thank you so much. And back to Hani.
Okay.
Hamida.
Give applause to our speakers and moderators. Thank you so much for the warm discussion about guarding the free and open Indo-Pacific. We hope that discussion will strengthen relations between Republic Korea and Indonesia. I would like to invite Coordinator Koreakini, Ms. Yunilawati, to give certificate appreciation to our speakers. Thank you very much. Once more, give applause to our moderators and speakers today. And thank you so much to Mr. Teguh Santosa and Ms. Kuripa Haringin Savitri, Mr. Taufik Rohman, and Ms. Sarah Mailiana Gunawan to join us today and give the insightful presentation. The next agenda is the announcement of the winner of SI ranking competition. And I'll give this announcement to my friend. Please welcome Phoebe and Mike. Pemenang SI writing competition dengan tema What Do You Know About South Korea kategori esai bahasa belajar dimenangkan oleh selamat kepada Enda Septiani
selanjutnya dari juara ketiga mendapatkan Rp1 juta. Anissa Azara dari SMA Manlaun Muda Bogor.
Selanjutnya juara kedua yang akan mendapatkan sertifikat dan hadiah uang tunai sebesar Rp1.500.000 adalah Luciana dari SMA N7 Serang.
Oke, selanjutnya juara pertama mendapatkan hadiah Rp2 juta adalah Alvan Raihan dari SMK Negeri 2 Serang.
Akan mendapatkan sertifikat serta hadiah uang tunai sebesar Rp500.000 adalah Arawida Audiani dari LSPI.
Selanjutnya juara ketiga yang akan mendapatkan uang tunai Rp1 juta, Judika Azara dari UNJ.
Selanjutnya, juara kedua yang akan memenangkan sertifikat serta hadiah uang tunai sebesar Rp1.500.000 adalah Rafa Olivia dari Universitas Brawijaya.
Oke, Tuan and only juara pertama Akila Azara Wijaya. Bagi peserta disilakan.
Bagi yang disebutkan namanya boleh ke depan ya.
Boleh maju ke depan bagi para juara.
Okay, thank you Vivi and Mike. Before we close this event, the organizing committee would like to thank all the speakers and moderators for the wonderful discussion today. Thank you to all the participants, and we hope that the international seminar will inspire and positively impact to all of us. We would like to give special thanks to the member of the Presidential Advisory Council, Mr. John Faris, the Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Lee Sang-deok, and Head of GEM SE, Mr. Teguh Santosa. We would like to thank all the speakers and moderators, CEO of Korean Bank Bukopin, Mr. Lee Woo-yeol, Women and Family Empowerment Committee of Syariah Economic Society, Ms. Ami Atmanto, CEO of BUMN Track, Mr. Ahmed Kurnia, expert from Bina Nusantara University, Mr. Kuri Maharani Safitri, Sit-in Editor of Jakarta Post, Mr. Taufikur Rahman, and Editor of RML ID, Ms. Sarah Maidiana Gunawan. And thanks to our supporters, the Embassy of Republic Korea in Indonesia, CAF, Mina Nugroho, Merlin Indonesia, Kantor Berita Politik RML ID, Farah ID, Permodalan Nasional Madani,
RMOL Aceh, Universitas Negeri Jakarta, Nibras House, Seharum Kue, Dapur Coet, Gianti, Malik Mustaram, and Bank Syariah Indonesia. Thank you for joining us today. Akhir kata, kami ucapkan terima kasih Kamsahamnida. Thank you very much. See you in the next event. Have a great day.
Saya senang sekali bisa hadir di sini, luar biasa. Saya menampilkan busana etnik dengan tema black on white. Jadi padu padan antara wasra dari batik, tenun, lurik yang hitam putih itu. Kesannya jadi casual ya, kemudian balik mungkin tepat dipakai untuk para milenial. Kemudian saya ada di sini, saya bangga sekali ada logo saya tertera di ini di backdrop tadi ya. Doha saya bisa kontribusi di sini karena saya juga pecinta Korea gitu. Saya senang sekali dengan kemajuan Korea, kemudian kemajuan anak milenialnya. Saya senang bangga ada di sini. Terima kasih itu yang undang saya di sini. Mudah-mudahan saya bisa berkelanjutan di event-event yang lain.
Koleksi yang kami tampilkan mengusung konsep smart casual, di mana kami menawarkan produk dengan busana yang rapi, namun tetap stylish dan santai. Kesan kami dalam acara Fly Together for Another 50 Years yang diselenggarakan oleh Koreakini, kami sangat senang dan merasa terhormat bisa berpartisipasi dalam acara ini.
Terima kasih atas undangannya kami untuk bisa menghadiri acara antara Indonesia dengan Korea. Acara ini sungguh sangat berguna bagi kami, terutama menyikapi hubungan ekonomi Indonesia dan Korea. Dan untuk hari ini bagi saya ini adalah hal yang sangat istimewa karena ada rencana Bank Korea akan melakukan akuisisi khususnya untuk perbankan syariah. Mereka menyatakan bahwa dalam waktu dekat akan mendirikan bank syariah di Korea Selatan. Insya Allah itu bisa menjadi salah satu jembatan bagi kita untuk mengembangkan perbankan syariah baik di Indonesia juga di kancah internasional yaitu di Korea.
Kita mau bilang banyak banget terima kasih. Kita bangga banget bisa ikut berpartisipasi dalam acara Fly Together for Another 50 Years. Hubungan Indonesia dan Korea. Kita banyak banget dapat inspirasi dari beberapa program dan rangkaian kegiatan di sini, terutama talk show dari berbagai speakers yang menarik dan menginspirasi. Pokoknya semoga Indonesia dan Korea terus melanjutkan relasi yang bisa berhubungan baik ke depannya. Thank you.
Saya mengucapkan terima kasih atas kesempatannya mengundang saya dalam acara atau seminar kali ini yang sangat luar biasa. Kali ini seminarnya berkaitan dengan hubungan antara Indonesia dengan Korea. Hal ini sangat terkait dengan bidang atau program studi tata busana dalam pengembangan dan kerjasama hubungannya dengan budaya maupun fashion dan industri kreatif nantinya. Semoga harapannya kegiatan ini juga bermanfaat untuk kita semua. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hari Budaya, Bismillah.